Hi everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Paiagroject, the unofficial podcast about the board game Gaia project. I am Matteo, El Temblo, and this time I am completely alone. Sorry guys, it's just you and me. Yeah, because Molfo is away, again. Last time we left him at the beach, and now, last time I heard him, he told me he was going to go into the desert. So he completely changed his surroundings. But no worries, he's fine and he'll be back soon. Anyway, since I am on my own, this time I decided to listen to a suggestion which came to us several times actually, and it's about commenting a game of Gaia Project since the very beginning, meaning since the picking of the faction, which is under many respects the most critical aspect of a game, one of the most critical aspects of the game. So, for this purpose, I decided to show you one recent game I played. It was an invitation game, it was on Board Gamer Space. You can find the link in the description of the episode, and I recommend you to open the game while you listen to me, so you can follow me along. And if you're not familiar with the Board Gamers Space interface, you will find that it's way less fancy than Board Game Arena. But yeah, I decided to pick this game because I just played very few games on Board Game Arena. I'm Mac or iPhone, which creates problems with their graphics. I mean, it gave them until I discovered how to disable the shadows, and then having a way faster interface. But anyway, I usually play on Board Gamer Space. This was, by the way, an asynchronous game. So that platform is way better for asynchronous, in my humble opinion. So you can enter the game following the link. If you're not familiar with Board Gamer Space interface, you will find that at the bottom right of your screen, whether it be on computer or on mobile, you can find an icon which has a small cog depicted on it. If you go there, you can enter the replay mode by clicking or tapping on the replay command, and then you will be able to follow all of the various moves I'm going to tell you about. So, without further ado, let's talk about this game. This was an invitation game. I invited 3 players, which I knew are very good players, and also I've been knowing from the Gaia community. So the fact that we know each other is very visible in the chat. Should you open that? I don't recommend that, but anyway. And especially they are, as I was saying, 3 very good players. One is Arielito. Arielito is the organizer of the Eurafrasian Cup tournament we've been recently talking about. And I appreciate Arielito because not only he's a very good player, but he also finds very unexpected solutions for the problems he encounters throughout the game or to reach the destination he has in mind. So I really like playing against him because often I learn something from him. Another one is Babuk49. Babuk has been our guest. He authored the Xenos Guide of our last episode, episode 15, or 15, me being me. And again, he's a very good player. He streams a lot. I think you already know him. If you don't, check out our latest episode, the one before this one. And also check his Twitch and YouTube channels. The last one was Roadrunner99. Roadrunner is Arun. We also had him as a guest when we talked about statistics in our episode 9. And again, he's a good player. He's a strong player from a strong circle of Indian players who are active in the community. And again, both him and Babuk are very strong, very solid players who have epic factions I'm not very familiar with, and as in Arielito's case, they often teach me something about the Gaia project every time. So I was sure that this was going to be an interesting game, also a hard one, as the name of the game suggests. This wasn't specially made for this episode. I just wanted to play a good game using the new invitation feature from Board Gamer Space. But when I was thinking about this episode, I thought that this was a very good one to showcase because it has lots of interesting aspects. Is a good game on my side. I will tell you about the game from my perspective, of course. Yeah, it also shows how things can somehow get out of control. But I don't want to say anything in advance, so let's go to it. Now, the game was a game without auctions, but I used the rotate sectors features. Both me and Molfo like this feature. It is especially good when all players are more or less at the same level, as I think this was the case. And in general allows the last player to create weird and interesting maps. The fact that Roadrunner was the one to rotate, I was very happy about because he often creates weird maps which are totally unbalanced but are very interesting because they favor the, so to say, weaker factions, or at least the least big ones. And he's not afraid of creating big clusters of planets and other interesting features. You can see it from move number 2, of course, that this was exactly the case, and I'm very happy about that, because he created this weird map, which was very favorable for yellow, for example. Also, gray had interesting starting positions. Brown is usually not one of the favored colors, so to say, but he still managed to give brown four planets within QIC distance, but without making too much an interesting map for them. I think that, for example, Tacklands here were a viable pick, but still they didn't have an edge on the other factions. Now, I will talk about the process with which I pick a faction. Of course, from my point of view and with the data I had at that moment, because looking at the map here, I could make some predictions, but they would have been worthless 99% once my turn to pick would come. I was third pick here. So I just waited for Arielito and Babuk to make their picks. If you go to move number 4, you will see what was the situation when I had to select my faction. The first pick from Arielito was Nevlas, which was a weird one and also an interesting one, I think, because Nevlas here didn't have a very favorable situation. They had a very strong tile, advanced tile on top of the knowledge track, of the technology track. They also had the opportunity to take the chart for base tile as a wildcard, which was good for them for sure. But in general, I didn't see lots of points for Nevlas here. And especially the map was very bad for them. But what I think that Arielito thought is that there's a planet in Sector 3, a white planet, which has 3 yellow planets, which are close to each other, and they are within its charge range. Also, that planet has a blue planet within 2, so an easy dig for Nevlas, a gray planet next to it, and one of the yellows was, again, next to this gray one. This made a very good map for yellow, all around white, and I think that he imagined that next players would have picked yellow, maybe Xenos or Gleans, that was to be seen, but the map was really too good for yellow. Also, the main scorings were structures and structures in Federation, so both yellow factions are good at those. And so I think that he decided to try and leech as much as he could, in order to overcome his map disadvantage. This was a very interesting choice. I would never have picked Neblas as first pick here, but it was interesting to see him doing that. The next one was Babuk. Babuk made a very non-creative choice. No, I'm just joking. He picked Ivits. Ivits are for sure a strong faction, but they are not the best in 4 players, of course, and especially here, because the main scorings, again, were structures and structures in Federation. It was going to be an all-out spreading game in order to score. Ivits, in general, struggle to score anything in 4 players, and I was 99% sure that in this case they would have scored exactly 0 from the final bonuses. So what made him pick Ivits? Well, I think that he made somehow a defensive pick, because regardless of what other players would have done, he could have the opportunity to pick the 3-point per Federation and Pass advanced tech tile, which set atop Science. That tile is killer for Ivits. It's very, very good, it's ridiculously good, and especially if it sits on top of Science, because it allows them both to score a lot and keep the tempo on the tracks, while also scoring very good on the tracks. So Ivits, when that tile are there, is our classic pick. In this case, I was happy that they had Neblas to compete with, because they could take that tile from from Neblas regardless, but they would have been hard-pressed to do so. And so maybe they did not have the opportunity, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to do things in the best way for us. I don't know. Looking at the map, I don't really see a very good Ivits start, especially after Neblas are picked. So, well, I don't know. We will see. Anyway, very strong pick, even if only for that advanced tech tile there. So now it was my turn. Okay. In general, the first things I tend to look at are a quick glance at the map, and then I start focusing on the advanced tech tiles. Of course, you can do all the following steps in the order you like, in the order you feel suits you the most. That's completely up to you. Also because every aspect is intertwined with all the others. So there really is no priority. I just tend to do this, and so I'm comfortable with it. As I was saying, I gave a quick glance at the map and I noticed 3 things. No, let's say 4. The first one was, as I said at the beginning, an incredibly good map for yellow. This is typical of Roadrunner. Also because he's good at yellow factions. No, well, especially the Xenos, to be honest. But also because he tends to favor these underwhelming colors. And so yellow was for sure an interesting pick. Also because my fellow players before me picked white and red, meaning that both yellow and brown would have been relatively safe picks, meaning that they wouldn't have too much competition on planets, regardless of the 4th one. So these were very attractive. The second thing I noticed was a nice map for orange, actually. With 2 planets, there were 2 orange planets within 2 hexes from each other in sectors 2 and 9. So at the right center of the map and at the bottom right. And especially the orange in 2 was directly adjacent to a transdim in a nearby sector, which is sector 6 at the bottom center of the map. And next to this transdim, as tile 6 is, there's a Gaia printed on the board. So, well, this was interesting. I thought that maybe Bal T'Aks would have had an edge here, depending on the yellow player choice, of course. The third thing I noticed was a very interesting cluster of transdim planets between the hexes 10 in the upright, because the sector 10 has 2 transdims next to each other printed on it. So it allows for clusters like this, and the transdim planet on sector 2. Sorry, and the transiting planet on sector 2. This was a nice cluster for Gaia formers, of course, which also made me think that maybe Bal T'Aks again could have an edge here. The fourth and last thing I noticed was that the map wasn't bad for grey as well. Tile 7 is at the top with the grey planet directly next to the transiting cluster I was talking about. And also at the center of the map between sectors 2 and 3, two grey planets within 2 hexes from each other. The problem here was that Nevlas were already picked, so any grey faction would have had a very hard matchup against them, and also the grey player here would have been doomed to charge Nevlas all game long, or at least at the beginning, which is the most critical moment to do so, while also being pressed to keep his or her planets. So, I don't know. I quickly dismissed this idea. So what to do here? Well, yellow. Yellow was a very interesting choice, as I was saying. But now it was time to look at the advanced tiles. Because, as I already said, on top of science, there's the 3-point perforation, but Ivids were already in place, so the opportunities to get that would have been exactly 0. On top of economy, there's the 4 points per trade station, which is good, but also this made me think that none of my previous opponents chose a true Gaia forming faction, so to say. Also, Itars were out of question because Nevlas were picked. And so I started thinking that maybe a Gaia forming faction would have been interesting. The Gaia track had a nice advantage because not only it has the advanced tactile, which is 3 ore button, but also at the bottom of it, there's the 3-point per Gaia planet. So it has, all in one package, so to say. The problem was that advanced style is interesting. I'm quite keen on buttons recently, but I don't know, it has to be taken very quick in order to be interesting. And the only faction I thought that could do this were Bal T'Aks, which I already noticed had an interesting map. So, well, they started to become a viable choice. The intelligence track was a critical one, because on top of the QIC track, there's the 1 point per planet types when the player passes. And at the bottom of it, there's the income of 1 ore and 1 charge. None of these were spectacular, and to be fair to you, just until after I heard Babuk's guide about Xenos, I have never been a very good Xenos player. I am a sort of a one-trick pony with them. I tend to look at the QIC track, and if there's something really interesting, like, say, the income of 4 credits, the charge 4, stuff like that, at the bottom of it, or the 1k and 1 credit income, and another very interesting tile, and all these tiles are income tiles which are sought after, and also the sooner they are taken, the better. And the only faction which can reliably start the game going up the QAC track and then keep going are Xenos, in my opinion. Well, maybe not the only one, but for sure the most suited one. So I tend to do exclusively that with Xenos, go up the QAC track as soon as possible, and then grab the advanced style on top of the QAC track as soon as possible, which has to be an interesting one in order to do so. It has to be a very strong one, say 3 points per federation. In this case, it was 1 point per planet type. That tile is sort of a why not advanced style, the one that Molfo calls cookies. Yeah, you can take that. If you take it early, it's going to net you some interesting points, but that was not something to play around. even if in this case yellow had no neighbors up to this moment on the color wheel, on the planet wheel. So I set aside the thought of Xenos for a while, even if they could be quite good at structure and structures in Federation. Anyway, the navigation track offered nothing of interest because at the top of the navigation track there's the 1 ore per sector colonized, which can be an interesting advanced style in late game, but is really not something to play around again. And at the bottom of it there's the 4 power value for large buildings, which is a useful tool in your toolkit, but except for some faction is not necessary at all. So I just shrugged and passed on. The last track I looked at is the terraforming track. The terraforming track is instead very, very interesting because on top of it sat the Federation, which gives 8 points and 1 QIC. So it was a green Federation, a Federation which could be used to top another column or to take an advanced style, not the 12 points one, which is not bad when it's there, but it makes you make some difficult decisions while other Feds do not. And on top of the terraforming track, there was the 2 points per Gaia Planet advanced tactile. Now, this is a very interesting feature when it comes out in a game, because there are very few factions which can actually hope to take that tile when it's on top of the terraforming track and score decently from it. Unfortunately, one of these are for sure the Ivids. And so I already had a problem with that. Other factions which can reliably take that, which, as Molfo said already in our Advanced Styles episode, is a game-changing one. The other faction that can take that is Bal T'Aks. Bal T'Aks can go up terraforming without any particular problem. And if they take that tile, they can hope to score a lot, because Bal T'Aks will always go up the Gaia track, and so they can lay down Gaia formers. What else? Oh yeah, Greens. Greens as well can go up the terraforming track and take the tile. But the problem with Greens is that they usually are a science power faction, and so they will have to choose another track other than navigation, which can be science, and so in that case they can climb a third one with relative ease. But anyway, they had to choose between Gaia forming and terraforming. So it sounds a bit conflicting. I mean, not being able to go up Gaia forming, and go up terraforming, and then take different planet types, but also try to score from Gaias, which have to be the ones you took at the beginning of the game. I don't know, it sounds a bit convoluted. For sure that can be done, but it's not easy at all. The terraforming track was very interesting, and at the bottom of it, very important point again, was the 1 ore and 1 QIC tile, which is an important tile at the beginning of the game if you plan on building up. So that was another spot on, and another hint for Bal T'Aks in my mind. Looking at the base tiles, well, some I have already told you, but at the bottom of economy, there's the 1 knowledge per planet type, which is bad, which is not great news for factions who like to go up economy early, because that tile is best when picked during the late phases of the game, when you had several planet types. And now a player was forced to choose between picking that tile early, and so not having a great gain from it, or to picking that tile late, but then being forced to go up economy also late, which is bad, or not to go up economy at all, with that bump, which is a shame. So not an optimal situation. Okay, the perfect one would be to be on top of economy and use that tile to take the final bump on top of economy, but it's a very frail plan because somebody can always out-tempo you on the tracks, and so it's a risky maneuver. One of those which I like, to be honest. The science track had at the bottom of it the knowledge and credit income. This is very interesting because one could pick that tile, go up science, and gain a lot of science throughout all the game. Not the best news if you do not want to go up the science track in this game, because you cannot use that tile to round up your science income to 4 without having to go up the science track. But anyways, a huge science income, the best possible science income for one game on that track. The 3 wildcard ones were the 7 points. This is great because it makes all players more relaxed. They can take their tile whenever they want. They can score those 7 points as one of their final actions, go up their favorite track, and it's easy. The 4 credit income, which is very, very handy, and the charge for tile. So income tiles were easily available for everyone, and also the Nevlas already had their favorite tile as a wild card. So what faction to pick? Well, I thought that Gleans would have been very interesting here, but the thing is that Gleans need some boosters, and so it was time to look at the boosters. Sorry, I almost forgot that. Boosters are a very, very important component of each game, and in this case we had all the best boosters for the beginning of the game, except for the 1 ore and 1 knowledge. With the best boosters at the beginning of the game, I mean QAC and 2 credits. Very good booster to start with. Step special action and 2 credits. Again, a great one to start with an early expansion. The +3 to your range and charge 2. Okay, a killer booster as the first round. And then we had some scoring ones. The scoring ones were all of them, basically, except for the 1 ore and 2 points for trade station at the end of your round. So we had basically the good ones: 1 point per mine, 1 ore, 3 points per lab, 1 knowledge, charge 4 and 4 points per large building, 1 point per Gaia planet, and 4 credits as an income. So Gleans had all the favorite boosters basically, because they had the step, which is helpful for them to expand, the range booster, which is very, very good for them, and the 4 credits income and 1 point per Gaia planet, which is another great booster for scoring for them. Not as good as the other one, which again was in play, 1 ore and 1 point per mine, but 1 point per Gaia planet can net them some interesting points during the round, and also helps them with their typical credits shortage. So Gleans had a terrific set of boosters. What about Bal T'Aks? Because I was considering them, and Bal T'Aks were in the exact same situation, except for the fact that they also had on top of all these both the range booster and the 4 credits and 1 point per Gaia planet, in my opinion, are almost necessary boosters in order to play Bal T'Aks. But they also had the third great booster for them, which is 1 QAC and 2 credits income. So the situation seems sound for Bal T'Aks. But now it was time to look at the round scoring bonuses. So here we had the first one was 4 points per trade station, which suggests something like a research lab and trade station opening. Then we had mines, so an early expansion was favored, even if not the earliest. And this was not very great for Gleans, because Gleans like mines as first round, but they could still manage to score somehow. Maybe they would start with less mines and a couple of trade stations and still can do that. The third round is a step round. When the 2 points per terraforming step bonus comes early in the game, say around from 1 to 3, I would say, that's never great news for anyone. Of course, if it's round 3, you can do something. You can use power actions. In this game, there was the booster, but it's unlikely that by round 3 you already are at terraforming level 3 without completely destroying your game economy. So I think that nobody was thinking about scoring too much from this round, which can be a good one, actually. But let's look at the 4th, 5th, and 6th rounds, which are the ones where usually one scores the most. And round 4 is the return of 3 points per, points per trade station. In this case, we have 3 points for each trade station. I don't know, looking at this, I started thinking that maybe Firax were not such a bad choice. But no, the problem for Firax here, no, they had more than one. Because Firax here had the problem that, okay, Nevels were already in game, so, and they were all next to them, so Firax would charge them a lot. And also, the points, knowledge points per planet type tile at the bottom of the economy track meant that they had to face that decision that I was saying before. So Firax are already difficult to play, and I didn't want to add any additional difficulty. Also, already white was in play, and that white faction was Navlas, so I absolutely did not want to mess with them. And also the final scoring were structures and structures in Federation, which are terrible for Firax. So yeah, no, I said, okay, no, even if these two trade station bonuses were very interesting for them, especially because the 1 ore and 1 QAC tile was directly at the bottom of the terraforming track, allowing them to open with the laboratory and planetary institute with relative ease. But then, after these 3 points per trade station in round 4, we have 5 points per large building on round 5, which is fine. This is the typical round where everybody can score, say, 5 to 10 points if they have plenty of resources. And then there was something which really convinced me that I had to decide between Gleans and Bal T'Aks, and it's the 3 point per Gaia planet in round 6. 3 points per Gaia planet in round 6 was something which would have allowed only Gaia forming factions to score decently. So, considering this, and considering that other round scorings were quite generic, to be honest. Also, Firax did not have their 2 points per advancement, be it in the round bonuses or in the advanced style. So, Firax were a no-go for me in the end. But anyway, all of this thrown together meant that Gleans were a very good pick in the end, because, or at least a very interesting one, because they could choose between Gaia forming, and the tile was straight at the bottom of the Gaia track, so it was easy to grab it and start Gaia forming and start scoring on top of their native ability, I mean. Their map was exceptionally good for them, because they had, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 planets within 2 hexes from each other, between Gaias and yellow planets. So they had plenty of options on where to start. They could have a very, very quick early expansion, and also the final scorings were very favorable for them. And if they decided to go Gaia forming, they could have also a very good round 6. But in case they decided to go up terraforming, they maybe wouldn't have profited from that round 6, but they could have access to the 2 points per Gaia planet advanced style. So lots of interesting decisions for Gleans, but the problem here was basically a subjective one, a very stupid one. So, no, it's not stupid, a very human one, I would say. Recently, I have been playing lots of Gleans games. I had lots of fun with them. I love playing Gleans. I pick them whenever I can, and I think they can be played. They also went very good, those games. I think I won one and arrived second in another one. But anyway, so the point was that... also the boosters were very good for Gleans. But the point was that at this time, I really did not want to play Gleans again. I wanted to change. And in the end, considering that they are not the worst ones, okay, not even the best ones, but they're not the worst ones at structures and structures in Federation, that blue was quite out of question, because the problem with blue here, both Terrans and Lantids, was that, okay, they were both good at the scorings, and maybe they would have been good picks, actually. But they did not have interesting advanced styles. That was the problem for me. Because on top of Gaia, there was the three ores button, which is unsuitable for Terrans. They cannot take that. Terrans could find very interesting the advanced tactile on top of the terraforming track, but it's unlikely that they find that track interesting at all. I mean, they have to decide after Gaia, or better before Gaia, where to go up. Science is a very good choice for them, but also navigation is often picked. So I don't know, this conflicted a bit with Terrans. Lantids had very interesting final scorings, but and also they had a very interesting cluster at the center of the map, counting exactly 5 planets. But Lantids had the problem that there was nothing of interest on top of the economy track. I mean, they can score well with the 4 points per trading station, but that's not a game changer, I mean. The 3-point per federation on top of science, in theory, is very, very good for them, but being Ivits in play, say hello to that. And also they did not have a mine bonus round towards the end of the game. It was in round 2, which is terrible for them, because they have great potential for that round, but not round 2, because they tend to build mines in round 1, and so in round 2 you tend to build up a bit, and that's very bad timing for that round. So what I really had to face the harsh truth that all in all, considering the advanced tactiles, considering the basic tactiles, not much the final scoring, but that round 6 bonus, and especially the round boosters, Bal T'Aks were really not a terrible pick. I wasn't fully convinced because there already was red in play, but red was Ivits. Ivits are not a great problem when it comes to competition on the map because they are very predictable. Yellow was a likely choice. Yellow was a likely pick, and I struggled with that for a while, but then I decided that I could take the orange planet in sector 5 directly next to yellow and also to a trans team, which was very good for me. I could start from sector, say, 2 or even 4. 4 was better for this specific purpose I'm going to talk about, but was at the edge of the map, and I like starting towards the center of the map, especially in this case, since at that point yellow was a surefire pick. I wanted to be near yellow, both to secure my orange planets before they became interesting for him, and to get charge from him. So this was the one thing I wasn't very convinced about. I wasn't very convinced about the chance to get the 2 points per Gaia planet advanced style, because Ivits were in-game and terraforming was for sure not the first tile I was going to take. I liked a lot the fact that the 3 points per Gaia planet was at the bottom of Gaia's. And then I also started thinking that 3-ore button on top of Gaia's was very, very, very interesting, and I wanted to try that. So in the end, I just said, who cares, and picked Bal T'Aks. Also, I knew that I would have had a very good round booster, because 99% Roadrunner would have picked the range booster. And so I could have access to both the charge 4 and 4 points per large building round booster, or the QIC. The QIC was a very good one for me, and I really thought that I was going to pick that. But then Arun picked Gleans, as I was thinking Gleans had a terrific map here. They had all those interesting decisions I was talking about before, and then he told me that he made a random pick and just decided to keep that. So all the reasoning goes away. Anyway, when it came to mine placing, Neblas started in 3, as I was sure that they would have done. I decided to start in 2. The orange planet in 2 was interesting for various reasons. The first one was that it was 2 hexes away from another orange, so QIC, and that was one mine for me. It was next to a transit planet, so easy Gaia forming with no QICs involved in order to reach it. It was within 2 from a white and a yellow planet, and both Neblas and Xenos were in play, and I thought that Neblas would have been placing their second mine exactly there, and Gleans, I said Xenos, sorry, and Gleans also would have placed their mine in 6. So, well, Gleans placed instead their mines in other planets, but I mean, it wasn't too bad. I was sure that they would have come to me sooner or later. So I placed my second orange mine directly next to Gleans in sector 5, in order to prevent them from taking the step booster and taking a precious orange planet from me. Also, the planet had a transit directly next to it. There was the red planet within QIC distance and a Gaia planet, and the red planet was sort of a bridge for another transit and other 2 transits, one next to it and one within 2, and an orange planet at the very edge of the map. So I meant, why not keep these possibilities open? Also, I thought for a while about the orange in 4 because it was within QIC distance from the large cluster of transdims, but in the end, since the range booster was in play, I decided that I would have used that in order to reach that cluster, which I absolutely had to go to, because there weren't so many transdims. There are other 2 factions which can potentially Gaia form, even if they are not the best at it, but they can do that. And I was very scared about that possibility. So, yeah, I decided to set myself to get as many transdims as possible within that cluster. Ivits placed their planetary institute in 7, which I don't know. I really don't know where I would have placed my planetary institute if I were Babuk. There he had the disadvantage, the immediate disadvantage of being far from everyone, so nobody would have charged his planetary institute, which was good for all of us, because I think that we all were very aware that Ivits here would have been a real danger, and I think that an unfavorable meta, so to say, was born for them. Anyway, there they had at least the certainty that they were within 2 of Gleans. They had a Gaia planet within 2 of Gleans. So whether the Gleans would have come to them or they would have come to Gleans, but they would have had a neighbor in round 1 to build a trade station. And they also had plenty of transdims along their path, so I was very scared that they would have gone Gaia forming, but I thought that they would have raced for the 3 points per Federation advanced tile first. So maybe, I don't know, I would have had time to take as many transdims as I needed to be safe. But it remained to be seen. Round boosters. Okay, Roadrunner took the range booster. That wasn't a surprise at all. And now it was my turn. Okay, I really wanted that QIC and 2 credits booster. I really wanted. But I also thought that I really did not want to leave the charge for 2 Ibits, because it wasn't for the 4 points at the end of the round. It was for the initial charge of 8, which meant that they would have basically started the game with all of their power tokens except for 1 in Bal 3, and they could have started with basically 1 power action of their choice, therefore nullifying their initial problems, and I really did not want it. So I decided to take that booster instead of them, and so to go up Academy. This wasn't a real problem, because I decided to play, so to say, Gaia by the book. And so in the first 2 rounds, I would have focused almost exclusively on building up my game and my economy rather than thinking about the scoring points. Round 3, maybe I would have started to think about scoring. This round 3 was step, so I mean, in case I would have been able to score something, great. But if not, wouldn't have mattered. And then from round 4 on, I would have focused on scoring. So in this case, it was good because after 2 rounds of bonuses for placing mines, I had a trading station 1, so quite straightforward, and then a large buildings 1. And since there were the trade stations before, maybe we could see the famous PI, who knows? And then round 5, and I would have a 100% to lay down all my 3 Gaia formers in order to build 3 mines, round 6, each worth 6 points. So this was another must-do. So Ivitz chose the QIC and 2 credits tile, which usually with Ivitz I prefer the step booster. I also told Bal T'Aks about this, and he told me that in that very situation, he generally agrees, but in that very situation it was best for him, the QIC, so that he could reach more planets. And I think that that's a sound reasoning. Last, Arielito picked the step booster. I think that he never really hoped to get the charge for enlarged buildings, but a man can dream. Now, up to this moment, I have talked for a long time. You will notice that. And the game hasn't even started. This is mirrored in and I'm sure also Molfo think, is the most important part of the game, so to say, which is the faction pick. The faction pick involves, I think, all your knowledge of the factions, of the game in general, and also, as you may have noticed, involves some mind games. I don't know what my opponents had in their minds, except for Arun, who told me that, seriously, he picked Glins using the random command. But I don't know what plan they had in their heads. I really don't know. But I could figure out something about what they could have been doing throughout the game based on my experience, on my knowledge of those factions. But of course I could not be sure about anything. I had to ponder a lot before picking my faction. This wasn't an easy pick, but I think, again, of course you don't have to think for half an hour before picking a factions, or you will lose all your friends, but you have to be very, very careful about the faction pick. Again, the game is not about I have this faction I love and I want to play it nonetheless. No. You can't do that in Gaia Project. You have to look at the map, at the setup in general, and try to figure out how this game is imbalanced, which factions and which game decisions this game favors the most, and try to do those things, of course. Providing that, I mean, this game would be wonderful if it weren't for all those pesky opponents constantly meddling with your plans. That's annoying. Okay, so let's see how my game went. My first move here is move 21. Since I had the charge for booster as started, and I had Bal T'Aks, so I just had 4 powers at the beginning. I had already 2 powers in Bowl 3. I decided to wait and see if I would have been able to, who knows, maybe pick a 4 power action. That would have been awesome. And also, since I knew I was going to build the academy, I started with a simple trade station. I built that in my Planet in 2 because I had more opportunities to expand easily from that Planet in 2. And so, since there was an academy there, that would have been a very good starting point for my first federation, which I was going to form very early for a small plan that was taking form in my head. So, trading station there in 2. The game went on, and here I became very lucky because Nevlas decided to build a trade station next to my 1. I think that Aurelio did that because he supposed that I was going to build at the very least, a research lab, but maybe even academy, because of course he knew that I had that booster. So he decided to build his trade station there in order to gain the most advantage from what was one of my sure choices. I think it was a very good decision on his side, even if it clashed a bit with the planet he took as his first action using his booster, but he couldn't do anything else, so that was a good move. But I was lucky because this made me charge my other 2 powers, and so my second action was to take the 2 ores power action. This is a very good move in general. Of course it depends, but 99% of the times it's a very good first power action. It's very sought after. And if you are going to build an academy, that is going to help a lot, especially because in this case, I did not have any extra ore from my round booster. So my next move was to immediately upgrade my trading station to a research lab. A very basic decision, to be honest. I decided to pick the 1 ore and 1 QIC tile from the terraforming track. This is because this net me a total of 3 ores, so now I had 7 credits and 7 ore, absolutely enough in order to build my academy, and I didn't mind going up the terraforming track. I sometimes do this to force myself, so to say, to climb the terraforming track later, if I'm not completely sure about that, but I think that it's going to be a good decision. I don't want to waver too much on that. The next move on my side was, of course, to go up the Gaia track. I mean, I could have built my academy here, no problem at all, but Neblas here would have charged a lot. And I was going to see if Aurelio decided to spend some of his power and not to be in such an optimal moment, especially because at this time he had 6 credits and no ore, so maybe he would have passed before I could charge him that much. I didn't want really to charge Neblas too much round 1. I had to charge them, but I didn't want to exaggerate, so to say. Meanwhile, the first move from Gleans was to take the Gaia planet next to the Ivitz Planetary Institute. This was somehow a mean move from Arun, I think. I think it was, again, wanting to keep the Ivitz in check. This way, of course, he gave him charge and also gave him the opportunity to immediately build a trade station, but he could have done that nonetheless. No, this gave him charge. The fact is that this way he removed one planet from those available to Babuk. And this was a problem here, because Ivitz started in a situation which was somehow already dire for them under the profile of the map presence. And now this was somehow mean, but I really didn't cheer at that move, because that I was sure would force Ivitz to go up the Gaia forming path, and that was not what I wanted to happen. Anyway, after going up the Gaia track, which I also wanted to do as soon as possible, because maybe I would have been able to charge some of those 3 powers. I really don't like those 3 powers in the second position of the track, because you get them and then you charge them, but it's difficult to get some utility from them. Anyway, that's fine. I mean, they can be important, especially for factions like Bal T'Aks, which are not too power rich. And so my next move, as I was saying, was to build my academy. Neblas passed, and I really was relieved by this, because okay, I now could charge them without fear of have them too good over round 1. Neblas went up building their Planetary Institute. Very smooth start. I think not a great one. I don't like the step boosters with Neblas at the beginning, but Aurelio's decisions were neat, I think. So, this is another critical moment of my game because I decided not only to open the 4 credits academy, but also to take the charge for base deck tile from the wildcard ones, going up the Gaia track and thus charging 3. This was not an easy decision at all, because usually you take the 2 knowledge academy if you can at the beginning of the game, unless you are going up the science track, maybe with, I don't know, Geodons can open with the QAC academy, going up the science track, that works, it's rather solid. But Bal T'Aks, Bal T'Aks have lots of problems already with knowledge, and in doing this, it's going to be a very difficult game under the profile of science. I knew this, but I decided to do that because of 2 reasons. The first one, that this would have caused me a science problem, an important science problem, but it also would have solved me another terrible problem Bal T'Aks have, which is the credits problem. They can really be starved of credits throughout the game if they go full Gaia farming, as I was going to do if I could have done that. And that academy doesn't really solve that problem, but greatly helps. Consider that this way I had exactly 24 extra credits throughout the whole game, which are a very important quantity. So I think that that academy is underrated. I think that overall Bal T'Aks are somehow overrated, but that academy I think is underrated as a starter for round 1. Of course, an income tile would maybe have been better. And this is the second difficult decisions I took in this moment. Because with the 4 credit income, I would have been set. I mean, they are 8 credits each round without doing anything else. But in this game, there was another round of bonus for trading station, round 4. So round 5 and 6 were unlikely to have difficulties under the credits profile. And also, I thought that with this charge of 3, and also gaining my second Gaia Former, I would have had access to 2 more QICs. With 1 I already had because I had it from the tile below the terraforming track, for a total of 3 QICs. With the charge 4, I was able to put 3 power in Bal 3. And I just needed to charge 1, or maybe even to burn 1 power, in order to get my 4th QIC. And so being able to perform the 4 QICs action round 1, which is somehow extreme, if you want to say, if you want to put it like that. But in this case, I think it was ideal, because that would have allowed me to take the 3 point per Gaia planet immediately, and also to top the Gaia track round 1, thus having my 3 Gaia formers, and so 3 QICs per round, or maybe 3 transiting planets, or a mix between the 2, of course. And also, I would have had this interesting tile. The charge 4 tile is very delicate to be played, to be used with Bal T'Aks, because you also tend to freeze your power in the Gaia Ball. And so if at the beginning of the round you have, say, 9 power in Ball 1, that's quite useless, I think. But it can be used not exactly as if it were the 4 credits income tile, but somehow to help you with that problem. And maybe, given its versatility, if the 4 credits academy would have been enough, I also could have used that tile in order to try and get some knowledge, which was going to be a serious problem, and I knew that. Anyway, even if with the knowledge problem, I already was at the top of the Gaia track, which was what I wanted to do, and I mean, that was it. I could have been a bit starved with science, no problem. After all, I made 1, 2, 3, 4 bumps on the tracks round 1, so that was okay. I mean, I could lose 1 round of technology advancements. So my next action was clearly to charge 4. I took all charge I could, and when my round came again, also Gleans had passed, taking of course, the mine bonus. Gleans made a very neat start with the 4 credit tile and the research lab. So taking the trade station bonus, fixing their credit problem, and also setting themselves up for a good round 2 of expansion, getting the most from the mine round. Now, I started my next round with 4 power in Bal 3, so I used them and my 2 Gaia formers to get that tile and top in the Gaia track, going to level 4 of course. And now I also had another difficult decision, which was I could use this new Gaia former for another QIC and take the orange planet within reach. But I mean, this was problematic under 2 respects. The first one was that the next round was a mine bonus round. So having that tile, this mine would have given me 5 points, which are nothing to sneeze at, even if it's round 2. The second one was that I was very scared that also Gleans could have started Gaia forming. If Gleans started Gaia forming as well, I was doomed, because Ibits, which meanwhile ended their round 1 taking another Gaia planet within QIC distance, for sure we're going to go up the Gaia track. But if also Gleans started Gaia forming, it would have been over for me. So I started taking as many Gaia planets as possible. Also, that Trans-Team was directly next to both a yellow, easy to terraform planet, and another Gaia planet. So it really was too good to pass on it. But building the mine and having it ready for round 2 with its income was very, very tempting. But in the end, I think that the correct decision was to place that Trans-Team. Okay, round 2, I'm sorry, at move 64. I'm sorry I stopped saying those. But round 2 didn't see the most exciting of the starts, except for a very important aspect, and it's that passing the previous round, I was able to take the range booster. This was great news, because now I was able to immediately reach the Trans-Team cluster, which was so tempting for me. And this is exactly what I did. You can check it out. It was move 71, yes. Move 71, I used the range booster and immediately froze 3 of my power tokens to get that. This was easy because they were already there, but yeah, I really did not want to risk anything and wanted to take as many Trans-Teams here as possible. I didn't have enough power in order to get power actions. I could have charged for, but seriously, anyway, those 3 powers were going to be put into the Gaia wall anyway, so the sooner the better. Also gave me more opportunities for charging later. The next sections are nothing to write home about, I think. I, of course... oh, sorry, I didn't mention that, but I... of course, use the 4 credit section at the end of round 1, and now I was going to use it again, so in order to fix my credit situation. I'm not going to explicitly say that because it's quite obvious. Of interest is the fact that I started round 2 with exactly 1 knowledge in my resources. That's awesome. That really, I just shrugged. I knew that would happen, so I accepted it. It was part of my decision. My next action saw me with 4 power in Bal 3. And I was lucky enough that Nebulous didn't take that power action. And so, well, who am I to leave those 2 knowledge there for Nebulous? Well, the answer is that I am one who has been just reached by Gleans next to the Gaia planet that I was looking at. So, since next move was likely going to be Arun stealing me that planet, I said no. I just froze one of my Gaia formers and took that Gaia planet, which immediately net me another 5 points. That was great. Normally, at this point, I decide to spend like 1 power in order not to lose charge throughout the round, but throughout the turn, sorry. But in this time, I absolutely did not want to risk losing the opportunity to grab the 2 knowledge, because I saw the charging situation of the other players, and I saw that maybe Glints could have had a slight chance, but that was hard. So I kept my 4 power in Bal 3, and in the end, that was the right decision, because I was able to get the 2k power action, which was awesome, because that meant that next round I now had 3 knowledge. Next round I could do another bump on science, on the science tracks, and that was very important given my problem with knowledge. So, well, after that I just picked my 4 credits, charged my 4 powers, seriously, all the things that you expect a normal player to do. I think nothing exceptional. I passed the booster and decided to take the 1 ore and mines booster. Now, I could have taken the 4 credits and 1 point per Gaia planet booster, but I thought that I wanted to build a research lab now. So since I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do that for a very special reason, which you will see throughout the round 3, I thought that having 5 ores just gave me a single problem to face, which was one of the credits. But since I had my academy, I ended round 2 with 3 credits. I could use my academy and have 7, so I just needed 1 extra in order to build my trading station, and I thought that that was okay. So I decided to fix my ore situation and to net some points out of my mines. Why not? Round 3. Okay, round 3 is a very important one, because now I had my Gaia former placed within my beloved Transdim clusters. Meanwhile, the Ivits in round 2 did what I was afraid they would have done. They went at Gaia forming level 1. But they also decided to Gaia form very distant from me. So that was great news. And also great news was the fact that they started going up terraforming instead of going up science, basically giving up on their 3-point per federation advanced tile. And Nevlas started going up science, so I think that in the end Nevlas would have taken that tile. But returning to my turn, I started the round with building just a trade station. Which was in the same cluster as my academy and another mine. So this net a total of 6 powers already there. But also I had already a mine next, just at 1 of distance. So the following action was just to use my charge 4 tile in order to have 6 powers and then take the 7 credits action, which is always nice because, of course, I had my academy, but it's always nice to have some extra power for you. This round saw also the Gleans taking the Gaia planet in 5, which was bad, but I really couldn't do anything about that, so I just had to accept it. And in order to be compensated for this, I proceeded to form my first federation. Round 3, I formed my federation in that cluster, which I was talking about before. I took the 1 QIC 8 points, federation. This is somehow weird, I know. And that's because I really don't remember why I took this decision. Maybe 6 credits could have been better, maybe 2 ores also useful, but I think that I saw the federation with the QAC on top of the terraforming track and thought, okay, but what if I'm not going to get it? That's a great target for Rescore Fed. It's easy. It makes me spare QACs, which are very important for me, especially for moving. And So I took this decision, but also I said, okay, but I don't have really important credit problems with in the current moment because of my academy, and I absolutely am not going to have any ore problem at all because the next move was just to upgrade my trading station to a research lab and to get the advanced technology tile on the Gaia truck. So I covered the 1 ore and 1 QSC and took the 3 ore button. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I took first advanced tile in the game, and I took that button, and I was, to be honest, really thrilled to see what this would have meant for me, because taking that tile round 3 means 12 extra ore throughout the course of the game, and these can be really game changing. The only problem now was that I was basically forced to do 3 stalls each round, because I had my 2 special actions, 4 credits, 3 ores, and also the charge for advanced style, which is what I did. I decided, however, to go up the science track with my lab, because this way my lab will have given me 1 extra knowledge, of course, plus 1 extra from the science track was a net gain of 3, but I also had 4 knowledge, and I took a second bump on science. Thus, my income was now of 4 credits from, 4 ore from my mines. But I think that, yes, I built another mine this round, if I'm not mistaken, to a total, yes, move 146. Yes, I built another mine this round. I built a mine on the Gaia planet, 9. So these were 5 points for me. An income total of 5 ores and 4 knowledge. So basically, along with the 4 credits from my academy and the ridiculous 3 ores from my advanced tactile, I solved my economy problems. Now my situation was fixed. I was okay. Very, very important, since Glintz did not go up the Gaia forming track, this round I was able to put 2 Gaia formers in the other 2 transit planets, which were in the transit cluster. I was really relieved by this, also because one of them would have allowed me to take another orange planet, which was within QIC distance, and remember that Structure and Structure Federation were in order, and also I took these 2 planets without spending QICs to reach them. This was very good news, to be honest. So I started then round 4 with no QSCs because I spent them all. I had 1 Gaia former on my board, and round 4 was the one where we were supposed to start scoring, or at least I was supposed to start scoring. This was a trade station round. Really nothing of interest here, except for the fact that I took the step booster, took the red planet, which was a sure gateway for other 2 transteams and maybe another orange planet. This was really important in the advanced phases of the game. I think it was a good decision. Not a given, but a good one. And this round was interesting also because I had to freeze one of my Gaia formers in order to get the QICs to get there. But I also had all other Gaia formers, or all 3 of them, so also the other 2 Gaia formers, both used for QICs. In this round, because I was able to build the mine on the Transim cluster in 10 and 2, and I was able to take my orange planet in 4, which was within range of the gleans, so I really, really wanted to take that as soon as possible, which I was able to do. As you can hear in this game, I think that luck played somehow a role. It always does, but I basically was always able to do whatever I wanted to do. Not everything, but the general plan was quite going good, so I was a bit worried at this moment. Meanwhile, the 3 or buttons was awesome. I really liked having all those resources. Each round I had my income phase, and then I had this sort of second income phase with my academy and my advanced tactile. In general, in this moment, I am really into these tiles because if they are taken early, they are very interesting. They can bring you points in ways which are not immediately visible, but for sure can be felt throughout the game. Anyway, these rounds saw me building lots of mines, taking planets in important spots. Round 4, I think, is still a good round to do that. And also building 2 trade stations for points and for credits. So I ended round 4 with the 2 trading stations on the map, also 7 miles on the map on top of the Gaia formers, between the Gaia planets I took from the Gaia formers down the previous round. And well, this round, no Gaia formers were placed on the map. The last one was used for the QIC. With Bal T'Aks, it is important to try to juggle with this tempo, because you have just 3 Gaia formers and you have to decide how to use them each round. This round I wanted to use them for QICs because, well, I needed to expand anyway, and also because I wanted to put them on transiting planets, all 3 of them, during round 5, because round 6 was a Gaia round and I wanted to take the most out of it. I already had, of course, the 3 points per Gaia planet basic tactile, but I really wanted to exploit that possibility. Round 5 was 5 points per large buildings. I took the 4 credits and 1 point per Gaia planets. Finally, yay! I got it, round 5. This was going to net me exactly 6 points, because at the beginning of the round I had 6 Gaia planets and I was not going to take any throughout the round, but it was okay. 6 points are nothing to sneeze at, and also the 4 credits helped me a lot. On top of the income from the academy and the train stations from the previous round, this meant that I had absolutely no problems with resources at all this round, because 7 mines down meant an income, of course, of 7 ore plus my 3, 11. 11 credits and 4 from the training stations meant that my resources were 15 and 11. I have never been this rich with Bal T'Aks. That tile is fantastic, and I am also liking that academy these days. Meanwhile, I kept climbing the science track. I was now at level 3, so I also had a nice science income. And, well, this round I really had to face a difficult decision, because my my large building for this round was, drum roll, the Bal T'Aks Planetary Institute. Yes, I did build that. You can check it out. I made that in move 241. That's it, that's me, building the Bal T'Aks PI. I seriously did that. And I did this for a very specific reason. I had an important problem with my plan of Gaia forming everything for round 6, which is, okay, I had 3 Gaia formers ready for that. I also had one extra QAC, which I was needing because I had to place a transit 2 axes away from one of my home planets, but I did not have 9 power. This is something which may happen with Bal T'Aks because, well, of course, because we don't like our planetary institute, and so we tend not to build it. The problem is that this also makes us not gaining power tokens if the 2 power tokens booster is in play, is not in play. And in this game, that booster was not in play, so I really had to take those tokens from somewhere. And so I decided to invest all of my ore income from my advanced technology tile to convert it into tokens. It was painful. I hoped I could not do that, but I was forced to because they took the +2 power tokens before me, and there was no way for me to do anything else. I also thought that maybe without doing that move, I could have built both my academy and my planetary institute due to me being disgustingly rich. But if I could do that, that would not have been very good for me because, first of all, I did not have a research lab open. And so I had to build an academy inside an already formed federation, which is a no-no, as you know, I think. The second reason was that, okay, let's say that I could build an academy and a planetary institute, but the planetary institute was going to be there nonetheless because, hey, I want to build Bal T'Aks PI, okay? And let's say that the academy could be built in an interesting position and I could easily take the 5 points. Okay, but this meant that I could not invest those ore into power and into Gaia forming. Next round was 3 points per Gaia planet. This meant that a mine built on a Gaia planet that round was 6 points per me, plus a potential +1, because I was going to top the Gaia track. And so another extra point at the end, and also both of the final scorings rewarded building structures. And so the decision was not that hard, to be honest, because in the end, the best thing for me was to convert those tokens, those ore into tokens, and to lay down the third Gaia former, which is exactly what I did. Everything went ridiculously smooth, to be honest, because I was able to build my planetary institute and then to form a federation. My second federation was 8 points and 2 power tokens. I built the weirdest federation in this game, but anyway, that cost me 2 tokens. And well, since this round I was going to to reach level 4 of the science track, and Neblas were already there, I wanted to have a chance to top the science track instead of them. Of course, Neblas took the 3 point per federation, but if this wasn't the case, well, not the end of the world. I anyway needed a federation token in order to top the Gaia track, and so if Neblas took the top of the science track before me, I could form a third federation with the taking the 12 points token. So 2 powers gone, 2 powers in, nothing really interesting to see here. But then, I did exactly what I told you before. I activated my button and took the 3 power tokens, laid down my third Gaia former, and basically went up the science track. I had just the regular round, you may imagine. I had one last difficult decision to take now, because I could make another technological advance here, or I could pass. This was basically what I could do at the end of the round. However, the round boosters available were 2 boosters which did not yield me any point, and the mine points booster. After me, there were Gleans and Neblas, and I don't know, especially Gleans were really dangerous for this side because I knew that they were after it. So this way maybe they would have picked that tile, but I don't know. I wanted to secure some points for the end game, and I knew that I was going to have a lot of mines on the board, and so I decided to sacrifice those 5 knowledge. I mean, not to sacrifice them, but to sacrifice the tech bump, which anyway was going to be the on the terraforming track, so really nothing really useful for me in that moment, but to secure me that bonus, that booster. That's something you can do. You can secure yourself interesting boosters, sacrificing even, I don't know, maybe some actions like charge 4 or stuff like that, if it really is worth it. Do not discard the opportunity automatically. And last round. Last round, actually, I don't have much to do because my Gaia formers are in position to be transformed into mines. I already have 2 federations. I just have to be careful to form that federation so that as many buildings as possible are inside that federation. Anyway, I could top the science track, but if I did that, I have 13 knowledge points, so 4 of them would go for the bump, right? And then I would gain 9, but I already would have 9, so I would go to 15 knowledge points, meaning that that's the maximum possible. But I would waste basically 3 of them, and that wouldn't change much actually. Maybe I could do another bump on the tech trucks, but that's not going to score me any point. So I could do that, but in the end I decided, okay, never mind. Let's let Neblas top the knowledge track. I instead will focus, of course, on the top of the Gaia forming track, because I absolutely want those points. The rest of the turn I spend it carefully looking at what Ivits do on the science tracks. At this point, Babuk can take the 2 points per Gaia advanced technology tile whenever he wants, regardless of the fact that he's going to have just well, no, it's not bad actually. He has 6 Gaia planets, which is not bad, but of course he will never allow me to have it. And so I just want to be careful that Ivits will not top the Gaia truck instead of me. So I always keep ready to top the Gaia truck before they do. Not much else to say actually, because here I build 2 trading stations and 2 mines for a total of 6. Then I build my 3rd mine in this federation to be, item for my federation, and then build the last mine. This is because I want to include, since the Structures in Federation is one of the final scorings, I want to include as many mines as possible. And if I had built the mine in Sector 6, which is adjacent to one of my trading stations, that would have brought the total of the buildings to 8. And so I would not have been allowed to link the 8th mine to the Federation. And therefore I would have lost 1 point in Structures in Fed. Really, not much else to say regarding round 6, except for the fact that, once again, I am not allowed to perform QIC actions by my opponents, meaning that I end this game with exactly 0 QIC action performed throughout the whole game. This is not usual for Bal T'Aks, but it may happen. In this case, I use my Gaia formers for Gaia forming a lot and for movement, so I'm fine with that. At some point, Ivits pass. Babuk passes after taking the 2 points per Gaia planet, as I was sure he would do. He passes while remaining at level 3 of Gaia forming. He decides instead to climb the QIC track, so I am very relieved by this, because I can do whatever I can close the game with whatever I want, however I want. And so in the end I decide to spend my knowledge points to arrive at the 4th step of the terraforming track. And this allows me to build my last research lab, taking the 7 points basic textile and reaching the top of the Gaia track with 9 Gaia planets on my side. So that's a nice chunk of points for the last move, for closing the game. Unfortunately, in the end, I am not able to build a trading station, therefore freeing one of my mines because they are all on the map, and then build a planet on the red planet in sector 1. This would have given me the best scoring in structures overall, since I am at 15 as a Roadrunner is, and I would have been even with him on the structure in Federation final scoring. That mine would have been exceptional for me. However, I end the game with one missing ore. Just for one ore, I am not able to do so. And so, in the end, I arrive second, just 2 points behind Arun's awesome Glints. This was a very, very good Glints game, very original one. At some point, Glints decided to climb the economy track, which is not usual for them, and then they end up topping it. But overall, this, I think, teaches also another important thing, which is I don't think I have played a bad game. Actually, I think I have played a very good game in this time. Possibly, I could have done 1 or 2 moves in a different way in my mind, but overall, it was a very good game for me. Of course, if you do not agree with me, feel free to write me and tell me what I could have done differently in order to win the game, because I would love to hear them. But anyway, I think that the circumstances, the various decisions from the players, somehow made Roadrunner 19 win. And I am talking about win making in a very inevitable way, in a very normal way, in a very unintended way, of course. So this is not bad at all, but it's something that happens. It is entirely possible that you play a fantastic game. I mean, I don't know if mine was fantastic, but it was a good one still, and still not win the game. That may happen. That's part of Gaia Project, because, of course, it's a game with perfect information, but you will never know what other players decide to do. And so things may happen that prevent you from winning the game, regardless of how good you have played. With this very, very philosophical closing, I can finally end this very long episode. I hope that hearing me blabbering for, I think, nearly 2 hours wasn't too hard. I hope this whole review of the game was useful, was interesting. Please tell me whatever you think, even if you think it was bad, no problem at all. And, well, so... not much else to say. Thanks a lot to you all for listening. Please consider subscribing to our podcast on the various platforms, and especially on Podbean, because every time somebody subscribes to Podbean, I receive a notification, and that makes me very happy for that moment, or maybe, I don't know, the next half an hour. So do that, please. Consider to like this episode if you like that, and of course, write us in any way possible. Come to the Discord, which is linked in the description of the episode, and maybe come playing on Board Gamer Space if you already don't. So again, thank you all for listening, and hear you on the next episode of paiagroject. Bye!